Welcome to this quick run through of the manual of Orb and Crown, a fantasy warfare mod for strategic command. What we'll be going through in this presentation is basically about the manual, how to find it and how to use it. Now, disclaimer, as you can see in the top right hand corner there, this is very much under construction. A manual for a new game, of course, is only going to cut it so much, and there's a lot still to be done, but hopefully there's enough there to get people started and get you into the game and enjoying it. Now, where do you find the manual? Well, there are two places. In the game, as you can see to the right, in the top right hand corner, if you click on the question mark there and then the strategy guide option, which is the third one down, that will open up the PDF in whatever it is that you use to view PDFs. And you can scroll down and use it as any other PDF. The other place that you'll find it is in the manuals folder, which is normally under your documents and games and so forth, and where you installed Orb and Crown. In that manuals folder, you'll see two different manuals. There's the one for, well, the same manual in different formats. One's a PDF and the other is a docx. So the Word document you can open and save and edit and do whatever you like with, but just be aware that if you do that, you'll need to rename it as something else and put it perhaps somewhere else, because it will get overwritten by future updates if you don't. So that is in the manuals folder. Now, we'll have a quick overview and a quick look through the manual itself. I'm not going to go through everything, of course. It's a 36-page document and we don't have that much time. It's divided into the three sections: the campaign guide, the strategy guide, and a very sparse developer guide. There is a lot more to be put into the developer guide over time if it's needed. And finally, the changelog, which is in the document. So I'm just going to flip over to that right now, and you will see this is what the front cover looks like. Now, as it says there, the disclaimer: until the campaign has undergone further testing, this document will be constantly evolving along with the campaign. There will be errors. Please let me know what they are so I can fix them. Okay, so we'll go straight down to the contents page. This is a linked contents page, so you can see that the little finger pointing there indicates that you can jump to whichever section it is that you want to read at a particular time. So the contents page covers everything that's in the document, of course, and it will expand as the document expands. It starts off with the campaign guide, how to set up the campaign. Obviously, well, not obviously, but probably you have already done so and are into Orb and Crown now. Have the credits and so forth, very important, and how it differs from War in Europe. Obviously, this is a new game with things that have changed from War in Europe, and there's a lot of changes. You'd expect that, wouldn't you, from a fantasy game as compared to a World War II game. So what I've done is I've listed some of the changes there, most of the changes, including the important things like the dates of the calendars. The calendar is still 12 months long, but it's got different names for the months and so forth. And you can see how each of those fantasy names correlates to real world names. Now, I've gone with a Northern Hemisphere weather cycle, so January, February and March winter, whereas in Australia, where I live, it's the exact opposite. They're our hottest months, but most people live in the Northern Hemisphere, so I've gone with that to keep it familiar. Alright, so if you go down a little bit further on, you'll see the background to the campaign, what it's about in a fantasy setting. It's not necessary to read this section, but if you're interested, you certainly can. I will need to add to this because it only covers the allies side of things, and the adversaries, of course, have their own history too. The victory conditions, how to find them and what's in them, are listed there, and we go down a bit further till we get to, let's do it right, the major countries, and even further on we have the minor countries as well, but just with a really brief introduction to each of them so that you get an idea of what they are about and the sorts of things that they are inspired by historically. The strategy guide is where the real meat of the document is found. Now I'm open to all sorts of suggestions about how this should be formatted. It's basically as you see it, really. So if there are things that really need to be added to it, or it could be formatted in a different way, I'm open to those suggestions. But you can go through each of the different countries that are involved in the game, read about their strategies, the sorts of things they need to look out for, and get a better idea from that. There's miscellaneous strategies that have been included here. So if you want to take Arctio, the North Pole, and get the resources from that for your country, open to only 2 countries, one from each side, it gives you an idea of how to go about doing that. Or if you want to attack different countries, it gives you different ideas about how to go about doing that. Of course, you're going to come up with much better ones than these, but this is a place to start. Research. The research doesn't work the same as it does in War in Europe. You can see that we've got 2 countries here that have a 6% increase at level 1 and goes through to 3, 4 and 5, and varies by country because of the nature of each of those countries. There's only 2 countries that share their research, Angford and Angnord. And the rest of them do not share it. But of course they'll still have catch-up bonuses and all those sorts of things that are involved in strategic command research. The actual manual upgrades are all described here. The automatic upgrades likewise. And we have diplomacy here. Diplomacy is absolutely critical in this game. You need to get your allies on side so that you can get their gold pieces, otherwise known as MPPs, and become a lot stronger. Decision events have their own section here. We have generic decisions. Then it will go further on into the early campaign, what sorts of decisions you need to make there in the first few turns, and I'll be doing a different presentation for each of those, different playthroughs for both sides, and I'll link those below. All the decisions are listed in a table. If you want to know how they work and what they're on about, you can go through that. Then I have a description here of the different units that are available in Orb and Crown, with comparisons to War in Europe. So if there are things that are similar in terms of the way that they function and the power that they have, then that comparison is made in this list of units. It goes through all of them, through to the C units that are available, and then we come to the developer guide. As I said, it's very, very sparse. All I've got there at the moment is the unit IDs and the country IDs if you are doing any development in Orb and Crown. Finally, the change logs. These are the changes that have been made leading up to this initial release. You can go through that or just ignore it, but that will be added to as the game progresses. The document and the campaign itself are listed. Finally, on the back cover, you have a strategic map, and it gives you a look at the actual world of Orb and Crown. So that's all I really wanted to go through for the manual, and I hope that it is useful to you.